All right, so what I want to do in this video is to introduce you to Cloud Shell. So Microsoft Azure has a portal, which is what we're looking at, and it basically has different services where we're going to have user interfaces. So if we want to say launch a virtual machine, they have this really nice, I don't know why it's asking me to log in again, but that's okay. But it has this really nice UI so that if I want to launch a virtual machine, I can just do some click ops. Click ops is when we perform operations through clicking of the mouse. But in practice, a lot of the times, especially if you're working in DevOps or other roles, is you're going to be programmatically creating resources because it's more efficient. Or there are cases in Azure where there is no UI and you have to do it programmatically. This happens especially with newer services or cloud native services. So just be aware that you cannot avoid doing some basic scripting, programming, or terminal usage. So the nice thing about Azure, and most providers have this now, but they have a way of launching a Cloud Shell, a terminal, so that you can programmatically enter in commands. And so that's what I want to show you in this video. So in the top right corner, you're going to see a bunch of little icons here. And the first one, and hover over to make sure that it is what we think it is, but it's called Cloud Shell. And if we go ahead and click that, what we're going to get is this dark box that's appearing below, and it's going to say, welcome to Azure Cloud Shell. Select either Bash or PowerShell. So there are two very popular scripting languages. One is called Bash. It's also the terminal itself. It's not just the scripting language, but Bash is what is used on Linux. PowerShell is what is used on Windows machines. And so this is a way to programmatically interact with machines and programs. And so we should take a look at both of them, but I'm going to first take a look at Bash. Of course, we are in the Windows Microsoft ecosystem, so PowerShell is going to be what is probably preferred when we're using Azure. But anyway, the first thing it's going to tell you, if this is the first time you ever launch it, is going to say you do not have a storage account. So the idea is that this Bash terminal needs to store some data, and so it's going to spin up a storage account, and we'll talk about that later in the course, in order to store some of the information here. And so this should be pretty low cost to no cost, so just go ahead and create that resource. And we'll just give it a moment here. And I just want you to know that it's still taking time for me to create, so if it's taking quite a few minutes, do not stress out. Just keep waiting and we'll see what happens, okay? I'm just gonna pause and speed this up. Oh, and actually, there it is. It's done. So it took about, I don't know, 3 minutes for this to create that storage account. So while this is spinning up, a lot of times in Azure, they will show up in the notifications, recent actions. And it's not showing it up here. It might be this tab. Nope. But normally when resources are ready or being created, they will show up in the notifications. Not exactly sure why I'm not seeing it here, but I'm going to go ahead and right click and just take a look at notifications. And it really keeps asking me to log in. Not sure why today. Yeah, if we go here, we can see things that are happening. So it created a subscription. That was the start of our account. So I just recently created this account. And then it performed a generate. Not exactly sure what that was for. That's for a subscription. So totally not important, but I thought we would see and hear things like created a storage account, but we don't. And that's totally fine. So we'll come back over here and I'm going to carefully read here. So it says, storage file share subscription is not registered to Microsoft Cloud Shell namespace. Please follow these instructions to register. In future, unregistered subscriptions will have restricted access to Cloud Shell service. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and copy this link. Okay. And we'll just enter this in here. And it's giving us instructions about getting started with Cloud Shell. So what it's probably asking us to do is enable Cloud Shell. So this is, again, another thing that we have to understand about Azure is that we need to register particular services. So this is normally done under your subscription. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over back to our subscription. So let's just type in subscription here. And we'll click into our subscription. And I want to show you on the left-hand side, there's a tab called Resource Providers. This is something you're going to be going to a lot. And you'll see me go here a lot. But the idea is that Azure is made up of a bunch of different services. and you have to register or permit the access of these services. So in this tutorial, it's saying make sure that Microsoft Cloud Shell is registered. And if I go over here, it is registered. So I'm thinking what it did is it did it for us. So it said, hey, it wasn't registered, but we did it for you. Okay, and so now we're able to use it. But you'll, again, see me in many videos at the start of it, making sure that we have those resources. So anyway, we have this open, and this is running Linux, as far as I'm aware of. And so we can run some Linux commands for fun. So the first I'm going to type is pwd, which is print working directory, and then ls to list out the directory. And you can see that we are getting some input. What I want to do is just make this a bit larger. It's a bit hard on the eyes. And let's see if this cog here will allow us to change the font. So yes, we can. So that's the largest I can make it. I apologize if it is not better. But anyway, the great thing about these Cloud Shells is that they're normally loaded up with CLIs for the particular provider. So Azure has a CLI called Azure CLI, and in order to use it, you can type the command AZ. So if we type in AZ and hit enter, it should tell us a bunch of stuff on how to use this. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit this maximize button so we have our full screen here. And so the idea here is that in order to use the Azure CLI, we can go ahead and start typing things in. So maybe we want to find something about our Azure subscription. So I can go down here below and type in AZ subscription, or sorry, account. And we'll go ahead and hit enter. And right away, it's going to complain because most commands are going to have a command and then a subcommand. So here I'm going to go ahead and type in AZ account list, as it's suggesting things that we can do. And so what it's doing here is it's returning back to us some information on our account. So in this video, all I wanted to do was show you how to open up Cloud Shell. In another video, we'll talk a little bit more about the Azure CLI and PowerShell and this other stuff. But yeah, that's about it here. When we're done with Cloud Shell, we can go ahead and hit the X and close that off. And we can just forget about it. So it's as easy as that. And we'll see you in the next one.